The movie starts with a man stalking a girl with cancer disease, and later killing her at midnight by covering her head in a plastic bag, and tying her hands behind her back. He then takes her to an empty field where he beheads her and sets her body on fire. 1 year later, we see our protagonist, Swapna, a creative game designer who works from home and lives with her housemaid, Kalamma. Swapna has a fear of darkness, so she often sleeps with the lights on. Her only comfort is her passion for video games. A few days later, Swapna enters a storeroom and finds it dark, so she quickly closes the door and shouts at her maid for not changing the light bulb. Kalamma tries to take her inside, but when she sees the darkness again, she has a panic attack and hears the countdown to New Year's celebrations. It turns out, she is suffering from post-traumatic stress known as anniversary reaction, a condition that triggers unsettling feelings around the anniversary of a traumatic incident. The psychiatrist says it is quite common and warns her that you'll get more stressed as New Year's Eve approaches. So he advises her to stay with her parents for a month, so she does not feel alone. That night, she dreamt of the day she got the gaming tattoo on her wrist and saw the photos of the cancer girl from earlier. When she wakes up, she feels pain in her wrist where she got her tattoo. The following morning, Kalamma listens to the news about the serial killings of young women. When the channel shows a photo of the first victim, Amutha, Swapna again feels pain in her wrist. Swapna then goes to the tattoo studio and meets Varsha, the artist who inked her. That's where she learns that her tattoo ink was accidentally mixed with a stranger's ash. Varsha apologizes and assures her that it has nothing to do with the pain, but Swapna shouts at her angrily and leaves. Swapna returns home and blames the tattoo for everything that has gone wrong. But Kalamma denies the connection and asks her to move on gradually because the guy is in jail. However, Swapna gets upset and recalls her difficulties, such as being unable to stay in a dark room and feeling like someone is touching her when she closes her eyes. That night, an unhappy Swapna takes a knife and decides to kill herself. It is now revealed that she was raped at a party that took place on last New Year's Eve. Instead of supporting her, Swapna's parents kept blaming the tragedy on her for having a tattoo and going out in the night. Because of this, she leaves her parents and lives a quiet life with her maid. Coming back to the present, when she is about to cut it, her tattoo wrist becomes red and brings her extreme pain, causing her to lie down and cry. The next morning, while they wait for the psychiatrist, Kalamma informs Swapna that her parents are visiting that evening and that they spoke something about leaked photos on the internet. Upon hearing this, Swapna decides to commit suicide by jumping off the building and getting hit by a moving car. Luckily, Swapna survived the fall, but her legs are fractured and she will need to use a wheelchair for a while. A few days later, Amutha's mother visits Swapna with the help of Varsha, and talks about how Amutha survived cancer 3 times and gives her tattoo as trophies. She also tells Swapna that her daughter will always be with her and wants her to fight. After hearing that, Swapna feels positive and asks Kalamma to inform her parents that they are returning tomorrow. Meanwhile, the serial killer that killed many young women in the city targets Swapna. That night, Swapna wakes up half asleep because her wrist hurts. She notices the time is 11 p.m. and hears the sound of a flower pot breaking through the window. Kalamma heard it as well and called the watchman via the doorbell camera, but he did not respond. So she looks through the window and sees a man's shadow, assuming it's him, and tells Swapna everything is alright. While returning to her room, she sees the coffee flask via the doorbell camera and unlocks the door. When she is about to pick it up, the serial killer approaches and attacks her. Swapna hears an unusual sound, so she comes out of her room to check on Kalamma. She starts panicking when she sees the front door is unlocked and hears the upstairs door banging loudly. She closes the front door and looks out the window, only to find Kalamma swinging without her head. Swapna is horrified and stares at Kalamma for a moment before her head smashes the window. She immediately rushes into her room and about to call the police, but suddenly the power is cut off. While struggling to breathe, Swapna hears a trouser zipper sound similar to the one she heard when she was raped last year. So she rushes outside, only to bang her leg on the door frame and fall on the floor. While crawling in extreme pain, she finds 3 of the same tattoo on her wrist and realizes they are similar to Amutha's tattoo. Meanwhile, the killer stands behind her with a big knife and a handy cam to record his killing as a souvenir. He then sets up his camera, grabs her head, and beheads her. We can see one of the tattoo fading when she is dead. Swapna wakes up in a panic and turns on the light switch. She takes a quick look at her wrist and finds that she only has 2 tattoos left. She then notices the time and looks at the window to hear the sound of the flower pot breaking. Unfortunately, the pot was smashed as feared, so Swapna quickly shouts at Kalamma not to open the door, but Kalamma ignores her and opens it to get the flask. Swapna then picks up the water bottle and smashes it against the wall to force her to return. Swapna then calls the watchman but gets no response. So they both look out the window and eventually find the watchman's body. While Swapna calls the police, Kalamma rushes to see if all of the doors are locked. They both enter Swapna's room and wait for the police to arrive, but the killer cuts off the power and lures them out with fire. When they come out, they see the killer waiting for them on a sofa with a handy cam. At the same time, the inspector of police, David, and constable, Chandran, arrived and knocked on her door. When Kalamma rushes to open the door while pushing the wheelchair, the killer attacks her with a knife and catches Swapna before she presses the unlock key on a security device. The killer then pushes her out of the wheelchair and enjoys watching her scream. When he is about to kill her, Swapna smartly moves the curtain and knocks on the window. Once David sees the killer, he quickly draws his gun and shoots him. Swapna quickly unlocks the door for them to check on Kalamma. Unfortunately, she is dead. While they call for an ambulance, Swapna sees a man looking at her from inside her house. So David orders the constable to take her to the police station and enters the house. As she is leaving, Swapna notices the killer in her wheelchair in the car mirror. It turns out, she was the target of not one, but 3 serial killers. One of the killers comes out holding the inspector's head in his hand, and they wave her goodbye before the car explodes. Swapna recalls everything that has happened to her and remembers Amutha's mother's words before waking up for the third and last time. Swapna wakes up in a panic, but this time she has overcome her fear of darkness and not turned on the light. Meanwhile, the killers have just murdered the watchman and moved to their positions. She then calls the police and informs them about a shortcut to get there faster. She then tells Kalamma that this is her last chance and they must fight, even if it leads to death. While Kalamma rushes upstairs and sees one of the killers from above, another killer starts climbing from the backyard and accidentally pushes the pot. She then pours gasoline from above and throws the bucket at him. While the killer is focusing on Kalamma, Swapna opens the window and throws the candle at him, setting him on fire. Meanwhile, inspector and constable arrive and ask them to get inside and lock the door. However, when Kalamma gets inside, she sees the killer waiting for her. While the cops call for backup, another killer with a big knife kills them and kicks one of their heads in anger. We cut back to Kalamma being thrown onto the steps and breaking her wrist. Swapna rushes out of the room as she hears Kalamma scream, only to be confronted by the second killer. While he is taking his time with Swapna, Kalamma stabs his toes with the pocket knife and signals Swapna to bash his head with a leg stand. However, the killer blocks her and throws her out of the wheelchair, crushing her hand. When the killer looks at Kalamma moving to pick up a knife, Swapna quickly grabs the leg stand and smashes his head continuously. As Swapna is checking her hand, the third killer appears from upstairs. So they both try to enter Swapna's room, but the killer grabs Kalamma and beats her unconscious before closing the door. The killer started filming her as Swapna crawled and saw the broken mirror, so she hit the bottom of the frame and pretended to be dead. The killer, however, did not fall for it and stomped on her hand with his boot. While he is focused on filming, Swapna grabs a piece of broken mirror, stabs him in the neck and kills him. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing videos.